Hi, have you heard about Bitcoin? Not Bitcoin, but Bipcoin. Bravo, India, Papa, Coin. Bipcoin is a new cryptocurrency that you can start mining today for free on ordinary computers. Unlike most altcoins, Bipcoin is not a clone of Bitcoin. Bipcoin is based on entirely new, more recent, and better code called CryptoNote. So unlike Bitcoin, Bipcoin has truly untraceable transactions, does not require specialized mining rigs, and has adaptive limits. Plus, Bipcoin is the only cryptocurrency covered by the BitCot no government license. This allows use and reuse by anyone except governments and government agents. If you're still kicking yourself in the head for not getting in on the ground floor of Bitcoin, start mining, using, and trading Bipcoin today.
Not a guarantee.
Mining Bipcoin costs you nothing but the electricity to run your computer. And we already take Bipcoin for stickers and buttons. Go to bipcoin.org. That's bipcoin.org. Once again, that's Bravo, India, Papa, coin.org.
If you think, oh, well, the apples come from the apple tree, and you go out there and there's apples growing on it, you don't really question it. And when you think you understand the world around you, even though it's intentionally being obscured from you, some people just tap out. They're like, of course it's obvious. I mean, literally, there's flat earthers out there. How?
It is slavery. It's just a different name. A lot of people don't realize what it is. And when we bring these ideas to light and make people realize, that this government force is the problem.
And to me, it's like I say, imagine you're an abolitionist in the 19th century, and these slave masters are giving you the same exact argument. Who's going to pick the cotton?
Hey, Seeds of Liberty. Read the show's description, please. Fervently complete the course, report him to the infantry. Finish him, deconstruct the fallacy. Seasonal production means it seems to spawn a tragedy. Peep the action, please. A fraction of the allegory. Corollary cadences complaining on a sadder story. Menial.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seeds of Liberty podcast. This is episode 89. As always, the Seeds of Liberty podcast is covered by a BitCot no government license. This allows reuse by anyone except governments and the agents thereof. You can find out more information about this at bipcot.org. So this week, we have brought back our friend Donnie Gebert. Hey, Donnie, how you doing, man?
Hello.
Yeah. All right. For our listeners, Donnie's been on a few times in the past. We just had him on recently, about a month ago. But we decided it would be a good time to have him back on again to talk about, well, who the hell knows what we're going to talk about. We'll get into, we'll figure something to get into. But the one thing I know we did want to start off with was something Dave and I were discussing.
Taking bets on whether or not I'm wearing pants.
I just automatically assumed you weren't.
The over-under is that they are over under the couch right now.
With that kind of insight, you'll be Warren Buffett in no time. No time. You'll be the oracle of the Adirondacks.
See, there you go. New calling. Excellent. I'm looking for a new job, so there you go. But the one thing Dave and I were discussing before the show was something I've been noticing ever since the whole fake news thing has erupted since after the election, and the announcement that Facebook wanted to start cracking down on fake news. And I have noticed through the group that we run that runs adjacent to this podcast, the Seeds of Liberty Facebook group, that there has been a ginormous uptick in auto reports to Facebook on posts in our group over the past 2 to 3 weeks, I'd say, because that's a feature that we have, I think, 5 or 6 admins in that group, which is actually a really low number for almost 5,000 people. Now that I really
it's been like the same 5 guys since we made the group. I added Rob. Like Rob Brown was like the last admin I added.
And that was like 6 months in.
And that was like 6 months in, and we started the group. Well, I started the group in 2014 as a different. It was going to be under the like a banner, just like anarchy, voluntarist, and libertarians, I think. And then I just said, look, we need a brand if we're going to do anything. And Seeds of Liberty popped off after a really strong group broke apart. It was what was that? AV.
I'm still a little sad that Liberty Majora never took off.
I don't even know what that is,
Jeremy. That you were the admin of.
Oh, that was supposed to be the New Gateway podcast that Dave was supposed to put together an all-female podcast.
I am still if you are interested in
Majora. and it never took off.
Sure.
And I'm just a little sad about
Liberty Majora. Look, we'll come up with a name, but I am wanting to add a third show to the network that is all female. I don't care what you think about that. I want an all female show on the network. I need the perspective. This perspective has to be shown. So if you're interested in that, I'll help you. I'll tell you what you need to buy, get. I'll even help you set this up and record it and edit it for you. All I need is you.
Don't go promising that, man.
Wow.
That's
I'll show somebody how to edit and do it all.
Oh,
once,
just show them
and
how to
then
edit.
they
Sure,
can bring- yeah.
it's really not
Yeah.
that it's really not that difficult. If an idiot like
It's
me
not,
can
it's
figure
not-
it,
it's
if an
not a-
idiot like me can figure out how to do it, then anybody can do this stuff. It's really
Legit.
not that.
If Jeremy can figure it out, like seriously.
See, exactly. Well, I mean, yeah, we've been talking. You've been talking about the all female podcast for the longest time, and I remember every time we get people that say they're interested, it just never works out.
We buried our lead so hard here.
Yeah, well,
We're talking about how fucked up Facebook is with our groups right now.
Hey,
They're
you're the one.
screwing
You're
us
the
over.
You're the one.
No,
You're the
they're
Everyone
not.
that posts in here, everyone
No.
that posts in our groups, they're flagging it as fake news.
No,
if
they
share
are
stuff.
not. No, I understand that's what Facebook is doing, but you have to understand something. This is Facebook's house. If they want to shit on the rug, they get to shit on the rug. It's their house.
I'm not. No. Oh no. No. Okay. See. Okay. Well, I totally understand that. I'm not questioning. I'm not saying that they can't set their own rules for their own
Well, they
website.
got a huge DoD
It's just-
contract,
it's
so
just-
we are technically part owners if you paid taxes.
Okay, let's
So-
not get into the weed. Okay, you talk about burying the lead,
Wow.
and then you want to start getting into the weeds on that. stuff.
Anyways,
Jesus. Hold on, let me go get my weed whacker.
Hold on a second. Where we were going before we got sidetracked was that ever since we've had the group up and running, between the 6 of us, we all, handle the affairs of the group as far, for the most part, just when things get reported, which is not that often. I mean, every once in a while, somebody gets their panties in a twist and tries to report another person's comments or a post that's about them or something like that, and and then sometimes there's spam that we miss that somebody will report for us to try to be like, hey, to point it out, hey, this is here, which is great, and we take care of it. And every once in a while, you would get these auto reports to Facebook where things, most of the time, that were not offensive in
legit.
any way, shape, or form. A lot of times they were just picked like memes, but not even like crazy, like over the top, in your face, offensive memes or anything like that. Like simply like funny ones and stuff like that, or just articles from random websites, and nothing like obscure either, like things that may be considered in this fake news category now, but are basically just alternative media, but are pretty reputable ones that have been around for a while. So it was like these random things that would happen, and then all of a sudden, ever since the election, it's just been ratcheted up to the point where I personally am seeing 10 to 12 of these things a day. And I'm not the only one who catches them, because Dave was unaware of this problem until I pointed it out to him, because between the other admins, if somebody else catches them first and either deletes them or lets them pass through, you don't actually notice it. If you go check the notification later on, there's nothing there, and you're just like, oh, you figure it's just a glitch or a bug or something, which Dave pretty much did.
And it's not like our group gets a shit ton of posts a day. Like, there are groups that have like 100, a million people in them, and they must be getting 14,000 posts a day or something. They must be getting lit up. So, I mean, think about the censorship that is happening there just from that. Like, I know what we're talking about here is Facebook, not people. Facebook is auto flagging these things and blocking them. And then they're like waiting 2 or 3 hours to say, oh yeah, we blocked this post.
Yeah.
Do you want to review it? So people post stuff and they're like, well, none of my shit ever gets posted off in Seas of Liberty. And it's because Facebook is auto flagging stuff.
Yeah, that's the weird tactics that again, your house, your rules. But when you invite a bunch of people into your house and then you constantly keep changing the rules, and when it's algorithms constantly designed to, Donnie, would you let me fucking finish, sir?
You can leave anytime you want.
Of course you could leave, and that's the point. We're trying to point that out to people, that it may be time to actually finally shift away.
I would suggest checking out Gab,
because what's actually happening is not just that they're simply auto blocking these things, because you can simply say, no, we don't want them to be blocked. We want them to be allowed through. However, the way they do it is a little it's underhanded, the way they're going about it, which is why I feel it needs to be pointed out. Not that they're not free to do this stuff. It's just I feel it needs to be pointed out because it is underhanded. Because as I showed Dave beforehand, we had a list of five of them that had backed up, but I got the report as Dave and I were sitting on or had just gotten onto FeenPhone together, and all of the posts were from at least 3 hours ago. So what this does is it takes these posts and it holds them off to the side so nobody else can view them until one of the admins can get to it. And once you actually, and then it doesn't actually send you the notification. And Dave didn't even get the notification. So not all the admins are getting their own notifications. Only some of the admins randomly get the notification. Okay, hold on. And then by the time you finally get to actually take care of this issue, you're 3, 4, 5, 6+ hours down the road.
We understand the property
and when you
norms here at
finally
play.
and when you
Okay,
finally
Donnie?
take care of the issue, all of those posts go back into the group or the page in the order that they should have been. So now they are so far down the page that nobody else will see them, and they are effectively shadow banned by Facebook. So that, like I said, again, I have no issue with them changing the rules. I'm just pointing out how they're handling this rule change and asking people to take a harder look at this and say maybe it really is time to shift. I mean, there's been enough projects that have tried to get up and running and have not actually panned out. I mean, Sue was a pretty huge failure, I would say. MeWe, I know, is still trying to hang in there. I still get emails from it randomly.
I get a ton of notifications from MeWe. I just don't. I mean, it's still
and unless we're gonna make MySpace great again, this is the world you live in.
Yeah,
that's it. It is what it is. Now, granted, Facebook is really going to screw themselves in the long run on this one. All of the people who rest on their laurels and think that they've got a functioning monopoly that they're going to be able to rest on, but it'll last a while. But this is their shit. This is what they're going to do with it. They're going to run it into the ground if this is what they're going to do with it. But okay, there's enough dumb people out there that'll keep these people suckling at the teat of the ignorant for a couple of more years, 10, 12, maybe 15, and then Facebook will die because that's what they're doing, and it'll become overt and obvious. But the attention span of the average American is so short that it's going to be a long goddamn time before that happens.
Oh, to some extent, I think you may be right. But again, that's why I think it was worth pointing out now. So maybe more people will become aware of it and actually try to pull themselves away from it. I mean, because I personally haven't been using it that much lately anyway, which has actually been a really good thing for me. It's literally just been to post stuff. I barely even interact on my own posts. I just throw stuff up there, and I don't bother getting into conversations. I don't bother getting into the stupid debates and arguments. There's just no.
It's good for the blood pressure.
Yeah, it's much better for my blood pressure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, really.
So
I live for debate, so it's actually worse for my blood pressure when I'm not debating.
So let's have fun times with this, right? December 13th, 10:29 a.m. I got my very first private message from CNN.
You got a private message from CNN?
Private message. Something about Nick Jagger's banging some other relatively tasty bitch.
On Facebook?
The next one was about Exxon. Yep. The next one was about Exxon. What else we got? Oh, Trump picks ExxonMobil CEO for Secretary of State. I'm getting this shit in my inbox. I literally have blocked CNN. I had to block CNN. That's how bad this shit is.
Wow.
I never had that happen.
Ceasefire broken in Aleppo.
I've had CNN blocked for years.
More wind, snow than bitter cold in the Northeast.
I don't think
I've
everything Ted Turner owned, I blocked.
Obama vows retaliatory action in Russia. About every other.
So what?
One.
You just act like the Atlanta Braves don't exist or didn't? When he owned them, does he still own them? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
about every one of them.
I did.
Every other one of them.
I've swapped baseball teams, man. I hate Ted Turner.
Sorry, we talked over Donnie. What were you saying, Donnie?
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying starting December 13th, I've been getting private messages on Facebook from CNN.
That's bizarre.
Private messages about their headlines.
From anyone but your mother.
Jesus Christ.
Stay classy, Dave.
Um,
Well,
honestly.
no, that's really bizarre. I mean, I don't have them blocked as far as I know, but I've never received any messages from anybody
Well,
other
I
than.
have their PMs blocked now.
Well,
you
yeah,
should have
I would
messaged them
imagine.
back. Yo, this is dope. Can I speak with whoever sent this to me, please?
I
Thanks.
did, and I was immediately reminded that a bot would troll me if I was to send anything to CNN. So I instantly got trolled, and then I just blocked them. And that's the end of it. But the point is, ever since this election, literally CNN is sending people individual mail. At least some people. I don't know
They're
why they
desperate.
think I'm. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
no, that
well,
makes. I mean,
that's
it
the
makes
point.
sense. It would be another one
That's
of those.
desperate.
It would make another
You know
one
what
of
it
those.
is so they can keep their numbers high enough. They're forcing people essentially to see it to close that message. They're getting the click. They're getting the click through.
No, you
The
don't have to do
headline
it in
is
a private.
being seen.
You don't have to do it in a PM.
You don't have to, but that's
Yep.
that's
none of them are
That's
red.
that's a viable strategy to get your clicks up if you're struggling to pay Facebook to
Yeah,
let
but
you
that's just
private
another-
message a bunch of people.
it.
Holy crap!
It fits in with everything else that Facebook does, where it kind of it
Mhm.
kind of helps and rolls out these little ideas in pieces where not everybody gets affected by these things, and this is usually how I end up finding out about it. It's like that whole color thing that just exploded over the last day and a half, where where a bunch of people on my list
yeah,
have
that
this
thing's
capability
pimp.
now to make these color memes, essentially, like well, not memes really. It just make
It feels like a meme.
it make your post feel like a meme, but not everybody has this capability. It's just and it picks people at random, it seems. So it fits in with
Ooh,
it.
I'm glad I got it. Woo!
Yeah, see, as annoying as it is, I think I'd rather get that than the one that Donnie got. So I got neither. I got neither. See,
I'm
got
glad
neither
I'm glad I got that one and not the
PME.
CNN spam.
Exactly, but I got neither that nor the color thing. So I don't know what. I keep losing features. I don't get features. Like features just stop
Oh, yeah.
working on either on the mobile site or the desktop site.
Well, you refuse to download the app, Jeremy. You have to download the app.
No, I will not download the app, Dave. I did the
You need
app
to
for
just
a
get
while.
You need to get a burner phone and put the app on the phone.
No,
and
it
just
has
use
it
as
has
your
nothing to
Facebook
do with
phone.
that. I had the app for a while. It killed my battery. That and the
What I'm
Twitter
saying is
app
just
are
make a
battery
Facebook phone.
hogs. Why would I use either of those apps that are such hogs when I could and should be able to get almost every feature on the mobile site where I'm only it's only being the power is only being drained when I'm actually working on using it. So, or
Yeah.
at least in that capacity. Obviously, power is still being cycled
Facebook
through the
is
whole time. But
ridiculously invasive as far as bloat. Like you can't even get rid of it on some phones. You have to completely.
Have you guys seen the Atom Ruins Everything? You guys know?
I have not.
I know of
I know
it.
the show.
Which
I haven't
one-
watched
what-
any of them. But
What specifically one?
There's one that it basically breaks down how much money Facebook makes off of you, which is $12. So all of this stuff that you give up to Facebook, all this information, I read it a while back.
$12
You
a
go Google it.
year.
My guess is that they're selling demographics information for $12 a pop. Like however many people you want to.
Oh, just one shot deals.
You want to target, yeah.
Okay.
That's my guess is, and every time they want to update you as a person, and it'll get more like this. I mean, the world is going to head this way. It's not necessarily Facebook's bad. There's
No.
an Intel program called Palantir, and Palantir is essentially an Intel program for the military that it allows you to basically draw a line and block chart. Like you would go in there and it would be Jeremy and then it would be Donnie and there'd be a line linking me and you, and then there'd be maybe something along the line, just depending upon personal preference and how they organize, but it would be, Seeds of Liberty, Facebook friends, whatever, but nothing like, lives in New York. The other guy lives in Texas. They don't hang out together in real life. So that would be the Palantir line between you and me. And then there'd be a Palantir line between you and Dave.
Mhm.
And then there'd be one between Dave and Rob. And then there'd be one between Rob and you and Rob and me. And they
Oh,
would
yeah,
have
we-
this whole network of people of how that whole thing functions. Palantir is hooked up to Facebook. So
Mm.
everybody essentially has a dossier on them that's used for marketing. But if somebody wanted to flip that, I mean, if the FBI just wants it, they can have it. Like, welcome to the way that
around
these
4
people
years
operate.
ago, I stopped posting legitimately personal information on my Facebook. About 2 years ago, I completely stripped through and deleted as much as they would let me off and changed all of my info and everything. and I don't think I've posted anything really interpersonal in a long time. I've used it specifically for propaganda because so many people are on it.
I never took it that far. I tried to hide a lot of the stuff that I did for a while, and then when I finally made my page, when I made my wall public, I was just like, I'll try to keep it to a minimum. But I already know just by friends of mine just goofing around and showing me stuff, how much of my information because of my business, because my kids, unfortunately, because of a choice their mom made when they were younger, are in the system. My information, even my family's information, my kids' information, is pretty easily be obtainable by anybody who really
Your
wants it.
sister's an actress.
Yeah,
but
exactly. So
here's the fun part, right? The only reason any of this information even worries people is because of how the state uses it. It's not because of how anybody else uses it. I mean, yeah, you hear about doxing now and again, but really the reason you want to hide your address is because, for the same reason cops hide their address,
oh, yeah.
you don't want those people coming to your house. Well, they already have all your information. So at this point, honestly, I think we're all better off to kind of accept a world where your address isn't considered sensitive information.
Yeah, exactly.
But a lot of people aren't there yet. Like,
well, I guess I don't know. It depends on the situation, I guess. I mean, for like I said, for a while, I was very against that. But then with my business and everything, it kind of became almost a necessity. And then I because of that choice, I had to let go or go insane, and I chose to let go. So like I made a choice that led me to that, which wasn't really connected to the whole idea of it. Just happened to those two ideas happened to intersect. It wasn't that I was thinking along the lines of privacy versus not privacy. I was just thinking about privacy at first, and then I let it go because it became a necessity for my business.
Yeah.
And he didn't even consider the privacy angle at that time. And then just later on was just like, all right, you know what? I'm already at this point. So that's when I started to become a little more vocal publicly about a lot of the stuff I was doing behind the scenes and what I was trying to encourage other people to do as well. Because at that point I was just like, yeah, if they really want to find me, they could. And it's funny, even before like what you were just describing with this program that essentially creates these dossiers on everybody, I just kind of assumed these things were there anyway. And once I reached that point, I was like, they already have all the information. So it's not a matter of I don't care. It's more of, okay, like you said, it's more of coming. It's having an acceptance of, okay, we're at this point. It's what do we do from here? Because we're already here. There's no going back. So we deal with what's in front of us, right? And what's in front of us is they already have this stuff. So how do we either try to find a workaround, or we try to just plow through and just accept that this is it, and then maybe if more people come to this acceptance and then move forward with it, it'll become more normalized, and then it won't matter because so many people won't care, and it'll be more like that. Then the less people the more people that take up an attitude in a non-compliance type manner like this in any capacity, the less power the government and the agents thereof actually have. That's all. It's all it is. The more people that do it, the less power they have because they become outnumbered very quickly.
Well, yeah.
So,
but here's my thing. I've never been afraid to speak the truth ever in my entire life, because if they do have to cut your tongue out, which would essentially be what they would do with us, you've already lost at that point, at least in the public's eye, every time that happens. So you know what? Come on, do it. But if they just let us keep hearing talk, eventually more and more people are going to listen, because like I said, numbers keep going up. Don't know how, but they do.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It doesn't
month.
really matter. The trick is keeping people running after the last problem, not the problem that's currently harassing them. It's like every problem that the government has is just marked A, B, C, D, E, F. And if you're taking A or A and B or A, B, and C all together, by the time you get through the whole alphabet and you get back around to A, you haven't solved the problem. All you did was service it the first time around. And now you get back to servicing the problem. This is what they do. They're not in the business of solving problems. They're in the business of servicing them to an extent that people will forget about it, and that's about it. It's just become a big circle jerk. I mean, that's all we're looking at now. This is all just spiraling into. Hopefully, it's not getting more Orwellian, but we'll see.
I feel like there's a big backlash towards pretty much every institution right now. Like, I don't feel like anyone trusts anything that is mainstream or that everyone uses, so to say, at all. Everyone, either they're, oh yeah, I don't care if I'm tracked, or they're like, well, what do you do? Or, they're like me, where they're like, how can I stop all of this? So, I mean,
I don't
If you
just a
know.
look at
lot
the
of people
level
out
of
there.
technical competence it takes to provide yourself really good internet. Like, listen, John McAfee tosses his phone every couple of days. Like, what hope do you have? What hope do you have when John McAfee loses a phone every couple of days or couple of weeks? Because he can't do it. If John McAfee cannot keep his shit straight, I'm done. I'm getting off that treadmill post haste. That's it.
Well,
I just have to accept the fact that my world gets peeped in on. So now I just have to secure the important shit and let the rest of it go. Honestly, the closer this gets to a reputation based society, the better off people are going to be. So go ahead, dox me all you want. I live in Pflugerville, Texas. It's not that big. So it doesn't really matter if you know where I live. You having my bank account number and ways to commit fraud on my behalf is one thing. Knowing my address is another. And frankly, anybody who's trying to hide their address, you got to wonder why they're hiding it. If they're running from the law, we can have an intelligent discussion about how some laws are just bad. But if you're hiding your address because of what you do every day, okay,
Well,
yeah.
that's
yeah,
going to catch up
but
to you one day.
Well, catch up
One
to
day
you,
it's
but
gonna
yeah,
catch up.
but again though, but if the reason they're what they do, what if what they do every day intersects with these stupid laws, and that's just the reason they're hiding from it? Like, I don't
Sure.
know, I don't necessarily see, that's the kind of people that what I was talking about before with with OTR, Operation Tubman Redux. Those are the type of people I like to help. people
Yeah,
people that
exactly.
people that would be trying to hide certain information for that exact reason, because whatever they're doing would cause them problems with the authorities, but the laws that they're or regulations that they are breaking and or violating are victimless, and they're arbitrary edicts set up, usually as with the largest basis being revenue generation. So those ones, I have no problem with anybody doing their best to avoid and doing whatever they need to
Mhm.
avoid such things.
I don't know, man. I mean, the more I look at this, the more people really, really are brainwashed. Like they look at cops do something terrible, and half of them just jump into, well, it wasn't as bad as shooting the guy in the back at 9 paces. It wasn't. Yeah, it
They're
was that, but
ignorant.
that's what it
They're
was.
ignorant.
They just,
They're
yeah. I'm just
ignorant.
saying the kind of
Remember, Donnie, you
excuses that
told me
they
about a
make.
year ago, it's ignorance, and you nailed it. It is
Ah,
ignorance. It's not brainwashing.
I just
They're
don't
not
No,
brainwashed. It's
well, no, it's
ignorance.
both. Like, look, it's ignorance to the level of they don't understand that they're
Well, they've
brainwashed,
just
but it
accepted
is
a lie.
brainwashed, huh?
They've just
Okay,
accepted a lie, and the lie
that's
is
all
state
brainwash.
authority.
That's all brainwashing is the
I
acceptance of
understand.
a lie that's I mean, the only reason we call it brainwashing is because the truth slaps you in the face every other day, and you don't wake up to it. Other than that, it's just, I mean, all brainwashing is a basic lie.
I think that creates a victim, but
It, a
So
victim is just a matter of perspective. I mean, if you take on a lie all by yourself, it's not. It was your fault, right? Well, it's not like a victim was created. Now you're just responsible for buying into bullshit. I mean, not
yeah,
everybody who joins a cult was taken, in the van in the middle of the night at knife point. Some people walk through the front door and are happy to stay.
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I
you're
mean,
right.
I think this. I don't know. I've always thought this one is kind of like there's a lot of gray areas here because to a certain extent, when children, for example, are indoctrinated into this stuff, at that point, I think you could make the argument for a victim. But
Yeah.
once
Sure.
once they reach a certain age of reason and able to at least have a basic understanding of logic and how things kind of work, then there is that opportunity, and that's when ignorance becomes an issue, because you have the opportunity to further your learning and expand your horizons, as it were, but you don't actually do anything about it. Then it becomes more of a choice. Then it's harder to make I think it's a lot harder to make if it's not impossible to make the victim argument.
Most of
at
the
that point.
time in this world, knowledge doesn't come to you unless you're looking for it. Sometimes you just stumble upon things. I mean, it's happened to me quite various times in my life, but most of the time you have to be struggling for that knowledge. You have to be going after it. And most people are intellectually lazy. They want to think that they've got it all figured out, and they just want to sit on that and be happy. And, like Cypher said, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, but that's what it's normal though. It's normal to, if you think, oh, well, the apples come from the apple tree, and you go out there and there's apples growing on it, you don't really question it. And when you think you understand the world around you, even though it's intentionally being obscured from you, some people just tap out. They're like, of course it's obvious. I mean, literally, there's flat earthers out there. How?
I had to
There's
block a
tons
lot
of
of them, or unfollow a lot of them. I don't
tons of
block.
them. I think most of them are
people because
trolls,
of their
but still.
beliefs. But
No, I just
Sadly,
unfollow them so I don't see their bullshit in my news feed. Like I
Exactly.
use my news feed for a reason, and it's definitely not for nonsense like that.
I don't think most of them are trolls, sadly. I think there are a number of trolls, and I think that's how it kind of got started. But at this point, because there's quite a few people that I've kind of gotten to know a little bit over the past couple of years that all of a sudden are on this train, and I'm pretty sure it's not a troll thing for them. Like, there's a lot of people that were heavily
and they won't be
conspiracy
talked
minded.
out of it.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean,
you know what I've found strangely? They'll throw you all of this like scientific mumbo jumbo, and then when you're like, well, all of that didn't make sense, eventually they'll finally pull off the mask and go, well, it said so in the Bible, and you're like, what?
I
find it strange that you spent enough time talking to a flat earther to ever get to the change.
I have to
story.
I was gonna say,
I like to know every conspiracy, Donnie. If you have to know a lie to know what is also truth.
I understand that, but I've never reached that point either, I guess. But I'm sure I didn't engage as many people of that persuasion as you did, Dave. But I did try to follow a number of conversations on it and back and forth where other people were participating, and just kind of watched what was going on and tried to like read everybody's comments and try to glean some information out of that. And I never saw that come up at all. So that's very interesting to me. I've never got, not that I've only didn't get to that point, but I never even saw that talked about. So that's a thing.
I watched a 12-minute video where somebody was actually walking through the math of how this problem was. And what it really should have been titled was 12 minutes of bad math. So, like, this guy was like, yeah, I'm an engineer and I'm from here. And I'm just like, I'm not getting any buildings in that fucking town, because that guy has no idea what he's talking about. None. None at all. He's sitting there doing math, and it's just bad math. Like, bad math and math look really similar on paper.
Wow.
Really similar. So he was just sitting there doing bad math for all the world to watch, and it was just like, all right then. So the source of the flat earther thing really comes down to some guy who happens to be an engineer, super bad at math. Somehow he ended up being an engineer anyway. Tells everybody the earth is flat because, look, math. All right.
Was he the one who started it? Because I've really been under the impression this entire time that just like the free bleeding thing, this was another 4chan hoax.
You know what? I don't care who's doing it. I want to thank them. If you're out there listening, I want to thank you for just trolling the shit out of this species. I just want to thank you for doing that.
Well,
Keep
what
up
happens
the good work.
is there's people out there that just put these things out there, and people go from there, right? And then you'll find like this coincidence, and it's all just like, man, we're really missing this one little part to tie it all together. But there are these people out there that they don't wait for that one little part to tie it all together. They go, well, we're not going to do that. We're just going to go with all this shit we think is what it is.
We have enough.
And
We have
with
enough.
that.
We have enough evidence that we can, we can come to these conclusions rationally. It's fine. That's basically how it goes. Yeah, they
That's
jump the gun.
that's why the preface of this show is take everything at the very end of this show with a grain of salt. Do your own research.
Yeah, there's a French scientist named Pierre Robitaille, and he's doing a whole bunch of physics stuff. And one of the challenges he has is he basically has to look the world in the face and tell everybody that Max Planck was wrong. And if you know anything about the physics universe, Max Planck is he's a name up there with Einstein in the physics world. But Planck was just wrong about some stuff. Like literally, he wrote down in certain spectroscopy equation. There's one equation. It's A equals minus A. Best of luck with that one. I shit you not. Max Planck wrote down A equals minus A. If Max Planck can write that down and justify it somehow, all right, we can all make mistakes. We can all make mistakes if Max Planck could write that down on a piece of paper and publish it. It's the only way. Well, and it's the only way that whole thing worked.
There's only
one
rational way to go about life, in my opinion, Donnie, and that is to be in a constant state of disbelief unless the evidence is so enormous that it can't be ignored.
Yeah, but even then, ask 7 different people who watched a car accident what they saw, and you end up with different stories. So,
well, it's because
there's
everybody's
a lot
perception
more out
of
there.
reality is different.
As long as everybody's keeping their goddamn hands to themselves, it works pretty well, this humanity thing. And it pretty much goes sideways when somebody comes up with an excuse to latch on to somebody and say, "Oh, you can't do that." That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's the short story.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
So can we get real for a second?
Weren't we just being real, Dave?
Can we get
was
real?
This fake? Real? Was this fake news up until now, Dave? Is that what you're trying to say?
This was all fake news before okay. Right now.
This is a burlap chair and I'm pantsless. I've been real the whole time.
Donnie, a lot of people are going to be seeing a lot of their family coming up the next few, days. Everybody's going to be either coming home for New Year's or had been home for Christmas. What would you tell anybody to tell their people, their family members that are in the Army while they're in it, just to put something in their head, plant a seed somehow? I know we've done a show on this before, but we're getting towards the end here of the show, and I'd like for you to talk about that just a little bit, because I know you have refined your methods more since 9 months ago or whenever we did that episode.
I don't know. A lot of Americans look at the military these days as if it's sacrosanct. And if you think it's sacrosanct, just ask yourself, do you think the third Iraq war is going to go any better than the first two? Just asking. If you really, I understand that, I'm not a military hater. Like, there needs to be people who are more than willing to end a motherfucker because they don't know how to act. All right, fine. But we are marauding. The U.S. is marauding around the planet. They are using the military to support the dollar, which is about it. And they're losing control of that either way. It was never a bluff that the America was willing to use the military to support the dollar. It's never a bluff. They'll do it. The thing is, they can't do it for everything. They don't have the option to do that for everything. So they've done it for everything they can do it for, but now they're still going to, it's slowly going to slip. Remember what I told you the last time I was on the show? That the market had set the price and that the rates were going to go up? Hey, look at that. Magic. They went up.
Did they raise them? What are they?
Yep.
I had heard something about it, but I honestly don't follow
I
enough
think
of
this
it.
balloon's going to pop no matter what they do.
And that's for people who think that a 1/4 point raise is a rate hike. Get the fuck out of here. It's useless. It's useless.
Yeah,
is that what they did?
If it went up if it went up to 20% or 27%, it would crash.
Is that what they did? Is that what they did? A 1/4%?
Here's how it works. When they tell you that 0% interest rate, what it basically works is it's somewhere between 0 and 25 basis points. Which means even if the official rate is 0, you can have up to 0.24 basis poins. Mm-hmm. So it's somewhere in that range. Well, now the range is somewhere between 50 and, it was a quarter. Yeah, Now the rate is somewhere between 0.51 basis points, which is 0.51% interest, and 0.74.
Mhm.
So when they raised it from 0 to 0.25, what ended up happening is it went from about 0.19, somewhere in there. It changes on a day-to-day basis, but it was loitering about 0.19 for most
Yeah.
of that time. And then it went up
Mhm.
to 0.3 something, right? So it went up a
So
little bit, but none of these are actually full quarter point rate hikes. So now you got another one. So now you're just going to be just over point. You'll be somewhere in the low fives probably.
Hmm.
And that's where
so
this
what?
this
But
whole point that's where this whole rate hike will live. So the reality is the Fed cut rates 2008.
yeah.
8 years later, they've managed to get somewhere almost north of half a point. Now they're north of half a point. That's it. They're not in the 3/4 of a point, and somewhere along the line, people are thinking that interest rates are somehow normalizing.
So the guys are over there fighting for essentially a dollar that's going to collapse no matter what, just because of the policies the Fed is taking.
Well, I mean, yeah, is the dollar collapse? Sure, it's the dollar's going to eventually the dollar's going to have serious problems. It doesn't mean it's going to collapse, but it does mean it's going to have serious problems. And no, it's not a store of wealth. And when your currency is no longer a store of wealth, it is by its nature problematic. So all the military is doing is keeping a dead currency alive, and
Yeah.
the system is just limping along. And honestly, if you're out there and you're listening, just go get a bunch of cash. There's nothing you could do about it at this point. Go get cash, and when there's a problem, the problem isn't going to come in the form of, oh my God, there's no more Rice Krispies at the store. It's not going to come like that. It's going to come in the form of a banking holiday. And let me tell you, it ain't going to feel like a goddamn Christmas holiday. Because a banking holiday, you don't get any money out of the bank. And then when the bank opens, you hope that all your money is still there. Because you're just an unsecured creditor to your bank. If you don't know that, now you do. So go ahead and be an unsecured creditor. My suggestion, start sticking money in the mattress. You want to actually preserve your wealth, purchase something that has tangible value that doesn't lose value like dollars do. That's all. There's nothing you can do
Yeah.
about it. You're here.
Well, yeah.
You're still alive at the best time to be alive. You're safer and more well fed than all of the kings of old. So just fucking roll with it and store some cash. Like that's about all you can do. The fucking crazies are in charge. The warlords have taken over.
Well, yeah, that takes us back full circle to where we started with dealing with things as they are instead of really trying to change things like that are such on a large scale that maybe you can't. Well, okay, just adjust and work around it.
And I think that's a problem with the thought is that the problems are fairly large, and because they're interconnected, everybody gets this mindset about them that they can't be fixed. You just have to accept them, and then we'll figure it out as we go along because the problem's too big. And I think that mentality is killing. I mean, that mentality is actually killing people, but it's really killing the idea of what America is and what this place is supposed to be and what does civil society look like? People don't even know anymore. It's been so long since they've actually seen it. I mean, seriously, we're relatively close to what East Germany used to live in. A lot of people think that's hyperbolic, but there's cops in your school. What the fuck are they doing there? There was cops in the school in
There's
East
a
Germany too.
school. There's a school. Yeah. There's
They're
not
talking
a, you
about
know,
building a wall. I mean, seriously.
no,
they're
there's
talking about building
socialist
a wall.
schools
Like,
here. Like there legitimately is communist schools here. Like
Yeah.
legitimately. Like that's what they are.
yeah, but you know what? That's the beautiful thing about freedom. Let a bunch of people get a bad education. Let them, whatever. But when when there's this top-down system that funnels people into it and then steals their money and tells them, "We're giving you an education. We're making the money available to you so that you can borrow to go to school." It's a fucking trap. It's a fucking trap. You don't need to go to school to be successful in America anymore. Now they're just trying to start you off in debt. I mean, go ask around. Most people are looking for people with a resume. They're not looking for people with a bachelor's degree. Everybody's got one.
Well, yeah, the overwhelming majority of college degrees have become virtually worthless at this point, and they've just become pure debt
A
for people.
bunch of them are still good. If you're trained in a hard skill,
Well, yeah,
you're okay. The real problem is that American labor is overvalued, and that's not really Americans. I mean, part of it is American policy, and part of it is the fact that there's 7 billion people on the planet now. So to compare it to a world that only had 4 or 5 billion people in it is kind of a silly comparison. You want to hear have a bizarre thought for the evening while you're sitting around? I don't
Of
know.
course.
Essentially, everything is energy. Everything we do is
Yeah.
energy, human energy,
Whatever the meme of
however,
energy means.
whatever it is.
The
Well,
meme
here's
of
the thing.
energy.
Do you think it's even possible to have the kind of energy expansion in the world, such as petroleum brought to the world, without a fiat currency? How else do you even attempt to measure the tremendous volumes of energy that petroleum brought into this world in the last 100 years? I don't know of anything else you could compare it to because the numbers are just way too big. Petroleum puts so much energy into the world that trying to measure it without fiat is just.
The banks own the oil companies. So
What does that have to do with anything?
I have no
I'm
idea.
just saying.
I don't understand how the
there's
whole
nothing-
system works. I don't understand. I mean,
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, hold
they
on a
just
second.
essentially
I
use
know.
us to make their stuff for them. That's it.
No, what?
Well,
They
I
own
know
the
what you-
banks and the oil
Okay,
companies as
who?
well. Okay,
Who's they?
They.
We're talking.
the
Donnie was making a
same
point. I was trying to
5
fix.
banks own all of the big oil companies.
No, they don't. The big oil
Look it
companies
up.
might be in debt to them, but that's securitized debt that they listen. If ExxonMobil goes out of business, a bank is going to own an oil platform. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do with an oil platform, but they're going to have one. It's all securitized debt. They don't own this shit.
Yeah.
There's tracts of land that they have drilling rights
Huge tracts of land.
Yeah, exactly. Tracts of land, huge tracts of land, and if the ExxonMobil doesn't pay their bills, the bank is going to own this piece of real estate out in the middle of nowhere that supposedly has oil underneath it.
I just don't see if one of their assets is losing a money, they're just going to funnel assets from another to keep it up. But I don't see how
Who
oil would
is?
ever lose their
Who?
money.
Oh my god! I'm so
Okay,
weird.
Goldman
Oh.
Sachs. Hold on, let me look. Top five
Are they even
banks.
still around?
in
Did
US.
they die?
Yes.
No,
Did they die
haven't.
with Lehman?
No,
No, they haven't died.
Ooh,
no, they're still there.
They're still
I
there.
thought they died with Lehman.
I still.
JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America Corp,
Oh, I know they
Citigroup,
were
Wells
there.
Fargo, US Bank Corp.
Okay.
All of
Wow.
those, if you look up all of their assets, the oil companies are in them.
Yeah,
they have bank
assets
accounts?
as far as what Donnie was talking about, how they have these debt, this what is it called? The securitized? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's securitized debt.
Yeah, and that goes on
If
their
I go to
asset sheet.
borrow, if I go to borrow a car and I tell them if I don't pay you back for my car, you can have my house, and I hand them the deed to my house, I've secured the debt for my car with a deed to my house. Well, you could do that with $100 million oil platform. You know, it is kind of a hard
Yeah,
asset that you
that-
can take and sell.
That's
Lord
why,
knows who the fuck they sell it to. It's a pretty bad bet.
and that's why it shows up on their assets, just like why as Donnie explained it, because they will own
The
it
whole
if
company?
Yeah.
yeah, that's how they do it. That's how it works, Dave.
Dave, honestly, the only reason the world
Just-
works is because people take risks with their capital. It's the only reason we have cool shit. If nobody took
But
risks
the
with their
fiat
capital,
is a false store of capital. It's so weird.
no,
so
it's
weird.
not. It's a measure, and it's a varying measure. What I'm saying is that so much, if you were to value each ounce of gold that's currently on the planet, and you were to give it that permanent store of value the same way that petroleum came into the world, each ounce of gold would be worth a lot of money, like $50,000, $60,000, $100,000, because oil has brought a tremendous amount of energy into the world. So if you're going to try to measure, I mean, think about it. Guys were banging shit out with hammers and chisels and doing things for thousands of years. All of a sudden, petroleum, 100 years later, we're on a goddamn moon. Like tremendous progress in 1 century because of this black shit that comes out of the ground. I'm
Mhm.
just saying, I don't think there's enough stuff. I don't think there's enough physical, tangible stuff, not without making each one of those things incredibly expensive. I just don't think that it's just something I was thinking about. Like, how else would you try to take this volume of energy that you've put into the world and try to measure it? because that's how we measure our energy, right? We measure our efforts essentially with money, not labor theory of value kind of shit. Just we did stuff, we produced something, but the way they were producing, all I'm saying is there was just so much energy there. Like I understand how we were measuring productive activity and we were measuring it with a gold standard, but honestly, petroleum put so much energy into the thing. It just seems really difficult to even try to measure it. Like it would take all of the metals on Earth, and then you'd have to attribute a whole lot to them if it was to remain a metals based or even just a commodity based system. There's still a whole lot of energy there. Whole lot of energy there.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. That is interesting. I've never really thought about it that way. But yeah, if you do look at it in terms of pure energy, then yeah, it's a whole
Who
lot.
has the most
A whole
energy
lot
to
you're
spin
dealing with,
around?
and yeah,
Yeah.
how do you measure it other than like the
Exactly. With
Yeah.
well, shit, we have so much. Like literally, when a guy with a bucket is loading barrels of oil, you didn't have to drill for it. You have to remember those first barrels of oil were tremendous rates of return on energy because the guy with a
Yeah.
bucket picked up a whole barrel of oil, and that thing, you know, how far does a barrel of oil push an entire truckload of groceries, like across a whole continent?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of work in that shit.
Diesel rates are nuts now on these
Huh?
trains. The diesel rates are nuts now on these trains, man. They can, like 1 gallon of diesel can make one of these trains go like 10
Yeah.
miles or 100,000 or 100 miles, something like that. It's
Remember,
crazy.
if you ever want to think you're smart, go back and find out when Warren Buffett purchased the railroads that he owns. Because wait till you find out that people aren't going to be able to drive cars as much 20 years from now because of the oil situation. Just the way the rate of rate of return on oil is going lower. The first
Solar's
barrel
going
of
to be
oil
big.
the first barrel of oil, the rate of return on it was like 100 to 1 for every barrel of oil we used, we produced like 100. Well, now it's down to about 5 to 1. So eventually, when it gets to, it'll be at 1 to 1, and then it'll be once it's at 1 to 1, you're just wasting time.
Yep.
That's it.
The market will
true.
answer. Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing: how will most of this stuff get moved across the continent when that happens? It ain't going to be by truck because they take a lot of gas. It's going to be by train. And Warren
Yep.
Buffett already bought that shit. Like it hasn't happened and it's not going to happen for 15, 20, 25 years. We're not going to have that problem. Warren Buffett's
But he went
already
ahead and
positioned.
secured the land.
He's going to be
essentially.
dead. He's going to be fucking dead when it happens. He didn't secure the land. He bought railroads, man.
Yeah, he did.
He's way ahead of the fucking game. He's half a century ahead of everybody else. No wonder why they call him the fucking Oracle.
Yeah. He's crazy, man.
Yep. But he's got it together.
Well, he's not crazy. He's
Yeah, he's got it together.
he's pretty calculated actually.
Yeah.
He thinks and it's a brilliant strategy because I remember when that I remember like reading about that stuff and a lot of people were like, oh, railroads are on their way, they're people are thinking railroads are going to get replaced by other things and that it's kind of foolish to be getting in at that point. It's like no, just wait.
Yep.
Everything comes full circle.
Yep. And in the meantime, what does he do? He owns a railroad. Now all that railroad has to do is break even, and he's doing better than holding dollars.
Yeah.
Yep, this is
All
true.
you got to do is break even.
It's better than holding
So-
dollars. Yep.
Yep, he knows exactly what's going on. And I think a lot of people do very well to understand at least basic economics. And if you don't know
go
who these
ahead if
people
you
are,
got some money, buy some Warren Buffett railroad stocks. Just go ahead and put them in. They're probably cheap.
and for the record, Dave, I am almost ready to break down and eat some crow on Bitcoin. I kind of wish I bought it a while back. but I didn't.
Well, I really
See.
didn't want to argue with you about it because
No, I
there's-
listen, and all of the objections I have with Bitcoin still stand, except they weren't major objections to begin with, and I'm just pissing and moaning that I didn't buy it when it was $150 a piece.
but I had to buy it now when it was $1, when it was straight up dollar for $1 on them, and I didn't hit it then. I was gonna straight up go 10,000. I just didn't. I almost bought Health South stock when they were at 16 cents a share. They went down to that when Richard Scrushy got caught laundering money. Didn't buy them. So I missed out on being a millionaire twice just because I was pussy.
Oh, that's right.
Eh.
Well, we talked about when we had Jim Jesus on. You know, you were
God.
you were almost a Bitcoin Muhammad.
Yeah.
And, missed it by that much.
Yep.
At the time, you have to look at it. It was so shady. It was shady as fuck.
No. Well, like I
Well,
said, all of my objections still stand for the thing that Bitcoin is. I will give you, it's not as fiat-y as I thought it was, because each Bitcoin is a representation of work.
this is true.
So I can live with that. Now, there's subjective value to that work, but because people do have the ability to transfer, it's useful, it's productive labor.
Mhm.
So I can't argue with it that much.
Well,
But
money
again,
is whatever
I'm still
people
telling you.
believe it is. Either way,
I'm telling you, I think in our lifetime we're going to experience a solar flare, a real big one, and it's going to be a real problem for the power systems on
it's
this
going to be
planet.
worse than Y2K. I was there in the bunker when
Y2K.
Y2K
Jesus.
fired off, and we were eating cans of potatoes and beans for months. And then I looked out the bunker, and it was fine as wine. I was so pissed.
Y2K managed to be less exciting than the loss of my virginity. Like, it was that bad. It was that fucking horrible.
And you lost your virginity to that one time when you were wiping your ass with too little paper, and your finger slipped up your butthole.
Jesus Christ, Dave, you're so fucking juvenile. It's painful sometimes, man. It's fucking painful.
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh. No
Yeah.
subtle transition
Well-
right into a fingered asshole. Come on, man. You got to do it. You got to church it up a
yeah,
little
yeah.
better.
If you listen to the show at all, Dave and segues and subtlety, not ham-handed,
I mean, even if it was,
ham-fisted, whatever
I'm
you
not a
want to
subtle
put it. Yeah,
person.
that's
Never
more
had
Dave.
Even-
been.
it didn't. If it was a loving fingering of the asshole, maybe we could have gotten somewhere. But no, it had to be the tawdry.
How would I know all those details?
cheap
I was just
toilet
recanting what you
paper.
texted me that one time.
The cheap toilet paper and
Oh,
the
all right,
self-fingered asshole. Just
Let's not keep going down the road. See, he got you to talk about it anyway, Donnie. Look at that.
That's how good I am.
I know. All right.
well, we've left
Well,
no
let's get-
asshole unexplored at this point.
I like mine's still unexplored. I'd like to keep it that way. Let's
He claims boldly.
Yeah,
yes,
You were a little quick to mention that yours.
He was
your
a little quick to
fingered
get on the D
asshole-
on that one, wasn't he?
Yeah, you were a little. It sounded a little needy.
Well, hey man, you made a bold claim about all assholes, and mine puckered automatically, and it was like, no, we need to squash this rumor.
Jeremy wasn't involved with this.
Yeah, this was your conversation, guys. But well, what you were talking about with the solar flare, though, I mean, yeah, is that a possibility? Sure, just as somebody eventually, some country's government eventually trying to use an EMP weapon against another population. Sure, are all these things possible?
Project Bluebeam gonna just
Probable.
fire off.
Yeah, I mean,
The
does
thing
that
is,
does that
here's the
short
thing.
circuit something like Bitcoin temporarily? Yes,
Well-
but the value can still be stored and once
Yep.
corrective measures can be
No,
taken, it could be
not if your device is destroyed in the event. That's the way Bitcoin works. If your device,
paper.
no, listen. The functional purpose of if you take a Bitcoin and you print it out and you put it in your safe, I understand that you have taken your Bitcoin away from this type of threat. You've also made your Bitcoin completely useless in a day-to-day transaction. So all I'm saying is before you start living in the Jetsons world, I think there needs to be some better protections for certain things. And this is a natural event. This isn't somebody sinister finally decides to get up off their ass and go do something harmful. I'm saying there's a very real natural occurrence that could have massive effects for millions of people, hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. Anybody who's on life support, anybody who requires
yeah,
constant
obviously.
communication. I mean, most of us don't have enough food that isn't shelf stable to last through that kind of event. So I'm just saying, like, I'm not paranoid about it. I'm not worried about it. All I'm saying is these kind of events, they happen on a long enough timeline. You end up with all of these fairly low probability events. So to have a system that's so vulnerable to that kind of thing, it's just a little worrisome. That's all. Like, I understand an EMP attack is one thing and a solar flare is another. EMP attack is a very low probability because it's very difficult to do. A solar flare is a very low probability because it doesn't happen that often, at least on the level that matters. But
Well,
it
matters
happens.
to us.
It happens, right? Do I want
Well, here's the thing.
Dave?
Every
Imagine
time I
being
hear
a
the
Bitcoin
solar
billionaire.
flare,
Dave, let him
You're,
finish.
imagine being a Bitcoin billionaire and some very strange event just turns you into a pauper.
imagine me being a billionaire right now and the dollar collapsing.
I didn't say that. Listen, just because I was making the case about Bitcoin doesn't mean it doesn't apply to
Every
the
time I
dollar.
hear one of these, like completely dire scenarios, I'm like, Bitcoin's gonna be the last thing on your mind during this situation.
No,
Well,
it's
no.
not.
Well, no.
Your economic prosperity is the thing that's going to pull you
Well,
out of
no,
that shitstorm.
Yeah, exactly. And that in that hypothetical scenario, if that's where
Well, the
the
code
store
is there. Bitcoin would get started back up and remined or whatnot. If it all got wiped out, it would be a frenzy. It would be a frenzy.
The plan of plan B always looks like hope, right? Plan B, hope is a terrible plan B, man. Somebody somewhere will get Bitcoin back up and running.
The only
do
argument
you
you
plan?
concoct is a solar flare against buying or
It's
putting
not
into a currency.
no.
It wasn't an
Not
argument
only-
against. He was just
Oh,
I've
heard that put as an argument against.
I am not putting massive amounts of my wealth against a solar flare or an EMP. That's all. I do think that Bitcoin is a good idea. I like the way it works. I think it needs a little bit of, I don't know. It needs a little something. It needs a solid backing to it. I think is
Like,
the
do you
thing that
just
bothers
keep
me
all
the
your
most.
stuff in like cash in like a fireproof safe or something?
I tend to keep most of my wealth in physical things. I would much rather have a computer sitting around in a box than $1,000 in my bank. I'd much rather
Okay.
have that $1,000 computer sitting around in a box because that thing isn't. It's there. It's
Yeah,
not
but
subject to
isn't-
inflation. It still functions. I mean, all
As
of
long
those
as your
things.
yeah,
five
but
senses are
isn't
operating,
but isn't that just as useless with a solar flare as Bitcoin? So why
No,
why go with a computer in a box? Why not put something else
No,
in a
yeah,
box?
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so under the circumstances, that was a bad thing. I got guns and gold too. I got guns and gold, so there you
Yeah,
go.
there you go. That's better.
I got a welding machine.
I get
Things like
I
that.
get your point though, but I just had to point that one out.
Well, then-
I was like,
well,
wait a
then-
minute.
Smart
You
ass.
know,
Well, come on, I pick on Dave enough. I can't. I gotta at least pick on
Fair
your
enough.
back a little bit.
Fair enough.
So, well, yeah, no, I mean, again, I understand, but because of the lower probability, I mean, again, I'm not saying put all your wealth in it. I mean, if you're
I don't
somebody,
think we've ever said that.
if no, of course, or even most of it, maybe. I mean, if you're someone who had gotten in big, even back when I finally did, thanks to finally listening to Dave, which was only about a year ago, I guess, was when it was the last time it was down
It was
around
220,
200.
I think.
It got as low during that stretch. At one point, I think it dipped for like a day. It dipped, or maybe a night. It dipped all the way down to 160, and I
unloaded.
I didn't get a chance to
Yeah.
buy then, but I did finally
My
get
bank
in
account.
below 250. Yeah, I emptied everything I had and got it at that. And if you're
When it
somebody
was
who
at
got in,
220, I bought like 4.
if you're somebody who got a bunch back then, even then you could be doing all right for yourself right now. But it's something that can be, it's not necessarily a store of wealth, but it is something, like you said, Donnie. It's very useful for transacting, and there are more people that are trying to make it more mainstream to the point where more retailers are now accepting it.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you can spend it at any retail shop through a shift card, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there are
you can
things
get a
like that.
prepaid Visa.
Yeah, no, there are things like that, but there's also more people I'm hearing more and more like local places like adopting it, which is even better, because if the adoption becomes widespread in those places, then it's gonna take over in a hurry. And again,
It's all about dispelling fears, Jeremy.
until it, well, no, of course, but until the solar flare happens, it's a great way to be able to transact and shift away from the dollar in general. So I think it's wonderfully useful for that, to try to, like, as we've been talking about the whole show, like try to get around this stuff that's like so ingrained that we can't do anything about right now. Like, okay, how do we work around it? Well, this is one of those workarounds.
I think one of the problems is that it's not going to be incentivized the way the system incentivizes its shit. They made going cashless real easy on everybody because they want everybody cashless. It's
Yeah,
easy to
so why
steal
not
your
take
money
it
when it's
away from the bankers? That's
I,
what Bitcoin does.
I understand that. But if you want to spend your Bitcoins a lot of places, you have to put it back into dollars. So if you have if you got a setup where like your employer will pay you in Bitcoin, that's awesome. That's great. And you only have to transfer it one time out. I'm just saying from my bank account, I pay premium to get money out of the system. Okay. If you're buying Bitcoin or you're buying gold or you're buying silver, whatever you're buying, even if you go buy a car, like the car is going to depreciate, but it'll depreciate slower than your dollars will. Well, probably not. It's pretty. If you
Well,
buy a decent used car, will last you, value wise longer than than the dollars. But the new one will just take that value hit right off the bat, and you'll lose all them.
this is true. This is why I've never purchased a brand new vehicle.
I've had to do a lot of driving, and I didn't want the problems. So just having the warranty and stuff like that, I've done that.
I've managed to, yeah, I've gotten like 2, 3, or 4. I think my last one was 4, but I got all the warranties. I paid I got all the warranties anyway, and still things still get taken care of. So I'm quite all right with that. I'd rather not take the hit. Like you're talking about with the value hit. Right away.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's and I thought that way for a long time, and I couldn't afford it when I was really thinking that. And then when I finally came closer to possibly being able to swing that, nah, it's still not, to me. It's still not worth it. I'd still rather, especially when I was able to get, the extended warranties on the last 2 vehicles I had anyway, that were already a couple of years old, and pretty much got what I would have got buying it brand new plus more. And they were great. They're both in excellent shape to start to begin with for me. So
Yeah, that's good.
maybe it's not the best overall strategy. Maybe I just got lucky twice, but in my world, it's worked. So go me.
Nice.
So, but yeah, I see Dave is still having continued problems with.
No, I'm back.
I know, but you keep bouncing go. So we probably should get wrapping up anyway. I think
I don't know what happened.
We've been going for a little while now. So. But before we get going, I guess we'll give Donnie the floor first to say anything else he wants to say in closing.
No, I'm good, man. I mean, a lot of the things that are going on now are just. I think we've kind of lived through the event stage, and now we're just kind of looking at the symptoms that we all kind of knew were coming for several issues. I mean, we knew that the media's been lying for a bunch of years, and now everybody's kind of catching up and realizing that they're just not good at their job. Like, it's not that.
Well, they're told to do a thing, and they're doing what they're told.
Yeah, but I mean, they're supposed to know what their job looks like. Even if you're told to do a job, they should go, maybe I'm doing my job shitty, and they don't.
All right. Didn't it all kind of change when the 24-hour news cycle thing started? When CNN went 24 hours.
Well,
didn't it all really kind of change?
Well, yeah, to a certain extent, but
sure, it changed. But I mean, journalistic integrity has been slowly degraded. Listen, if you look at Dan Rather, like back in Vietnam, he was giving you the poop from the field. Like there he is.
Yep.
With his helmet on, and he's just like, I'm standing here, and we're all getting fucking shot at. Welcome to Vietnam. Like, and that was Dan Rather. And later in life, it was, well, in Washington today. That old Reagan guy, boy, he's adorable, isn't he? And his bias wasn't really bad.
Mm-hmm.
His left bias wasn't really bad. But now it's just gotten, death by 1,000 paper cuts. That's all it is. And now it's to the point where they can't even predict an obvious loss in election. Even after, I mean, let's face it, the DNC
they weren't paid to predict that.
Well, here's the thing. The DNC has been openly, I mean, even if they weren't openly doing it, they're openly talking about how they've manipulated elections for a long, long time. Why does anybody think it didn't happen? Why does anybody think that Hillary didn't lose big time? Big times. They did all the cheating. They did all the bullshit they could have done with her, and she still lost.
Yep.
Big time.
So exactly.
I think Romney won as well. I just think they got away with it.
It's not like Hillary lost a little bit. And then, we're going to make a big deal about it. Hillary lost they stole Trump's landslide from him. They didn't steal it from Reagan, but they stole it from Trump. He had a big he had a big win, and he only ended up with a little win.
Yeah,
So I'm not a
see,
Trump fan. I'm not defending him, but
no,
I'll be goddamned if they didn't steal that shit from him.
I agree with you on that, because I actually said something similar to that right a couple weeks before the election when I finally conceded that, because the entire time I thought that Hillary had it, that it was just it was pretty much predestined, like, it was her turn, and they were gonna let her, whether however much cheating they had to do, they were gonna do, but she was gonna get it. But towards like the last couple of weeks, I started to like really recognize like that there was not only, I couldn't find any support for her anywhere, even here in New York.
Yep.
Like, I didn't see anything. So everything that I was told about through the media to me had to be contrived because there was just nothing. And I said, you know what? I think it's gonna be a landslide. I said, I not only do I think not only think Trump's actually gonna win this, I think it's gonna be a landslide. So when it wasn't, I was actually surprised. I was surprised to a certain extent, except knowing what they, like you said, they've pretty much openly been admitting for years. And now it's been, the whole thing's been let out of the bag through all the emails and stuff on top of that. Yeah, they obviously manipulated it and made it closer, but yeah, I think they definitely. It may not have been Reagan's size, but it was definitely going to be a much bigger margin.
I straight up think, yeah, I agree. I don't think it was Reagan's size, but I think it was similar. I think it was like a 70. I think it was closer to a 70% vote, but because of all the normal chicanery that goes on, I mean, there's just a normal couple of million, like 1 or 2 million vote padding of error that the DNC has just been conjuring up for 50 years. That's what they do. And I mean, I understand. Like, I'm not hating on the DNC. I don't understand why any Democrat right now still admits they're a Democrat, because if I was a Democrat and the DNC was running my political campaign, I'd have been up there and I would have been throwing people out of windows. I'd have been cleaning it personally. My ass would have been in the car. I would have driven to their headquarters and I'd have been throwing motherfuckers out of windows. Because if I had been contributing to that shit and my political hopes were based in this organization and they pulled the shit they pulled, man, I'd be up in there beating their shit like nobody's business. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. So, but we'll see. You know what? Honestly, if there's still a DNC next year, you'll find out how dumb the average American is. At least the Democrats. Yeah. I don't know if the Republicans are going to let the RNC live, and they weren't even nearly as bad as the DNC were in this election. But the Republicans.
So you think there'll be two new parties?
You know what? It doesn't matter. It's a one solution system, and as long as it's a one solution system, it'll always be a failure. You get 2-party, 3-party, 10-party system. If there's only one solution on the table, everybody's fucked. There's
violence, or not violence, but aggression.
There's no power in the word yes. There's only power in no. So as long as the government is going to tell people, no, you can't have two options, then you're fucked. That's the way this works. Just accept the way it works and start trying to fix the system that's here, not the one that you believe is here. And I think we'll all do a little better in our future endeavors to get.
I wouldn't say fix the system. I would say get the hell away from the system and start your own. But whatever.
Yeah, but honestly,
I ain't fixing none of this. I don't want to fix Western culture. I don't want to fix white culture. I don't want to fix American culture.
Then you're stuck with it. No,
I'm not. I start my own.
Pick your ass up and move. Then pick your
ass up. Why do I have to move?
Realistically,
I have my own property.
Listen. Okay, and are you going to grow everything on there? Are you going to make your own TVs? Are you going to shit out your own cars? No, you're not.
That's a non-argument.
It's a non-argument. Seriously, pull your head out of your ass. Unless you actually plan on building your own car on your property, then guess what? You're going to interact with the rest of us, and that's just the fucking way it is.
I have a paid-off car that's in my driveway on a house and property that's paid off.
See you in 15 years when the shit don't work no more. See you when you need a fucking light bulb, because you ain't going to be making those.
Then I'll interact with a company.
You're going to be up there planting beets and zucchini. Is that what you're going to be doing, or are you going to go down to the store and you're going to buy yourself some ground beef and some tomatoes? Like, seriously, you're going to interact with society. You could pretend you're not all you want.
Yeah, but I don't have to participate in their cult behavior.
Oh, really? You participate in cult behavior every time you stand in line at the fucking checkout. Okay? Everybody's just mindlessly lining up there. Okay? Seriously.
I have always.
Seriously,
I
you
have
want to
always.
go over the rainbow with the? You want to go over the rainbow, and you want to take anarchism into the SJW territory? Okay, but
I have
but
always.
the reality is, you're going to interact with the other humans. We're all going to have to figure out a way to do that somehow. And I'm not advocating for a top-down, hierarchical, violently produced system. No, of course not. But to think that somehow anarchism, no, that's hope. Hope is for fucking amateurs. Professionals need a goddamn plan, and hope ain't gonna cut it. So,
well, on
thinking
that
about
note.
it. I'm thinking about it.
On that note, Dave, do you have anything else
Yeah.
you want to say before we go?
No, I don't. I hope Donnie and you have a good Christmas. I know that this show will be coming out after Christmas, the day after.
Ooh.
So,
Wow, it's the 22nd already? Jesus.
everybody that's listened to us for this whole year, I really appreciate it. We have some really cool fans. I wish a lot more people interacted with us more, through letting us know what they think about each show or whatnot. But we have a few people that do that. I just wish more did. But other than that, happy holidays, everybody.
Merry Christmas to everyone and to you guys.
Yeah, I'll be happy when the holidays are over. Humbug. But yeah. All right. Well, Donnie, this is as always, it's been a great conversation. So thank you again for coming on, man. This was a good time.
It's wonderful to talk to you.
Yes, it is wonderful to talk to me.
I'll agree.
I'm gonna steal a line from Jim Jesus.
You tell yourself that every time you talk to yourself.
Exactly. I do. So this has been the Seeds of Liberty podcast. All of our information can be found at theseedsofliberty.com. And we will catch you next time. Peace.
Recently reading into the thesis, mirroring the people who completely fail to see it though. Seeing is believing, yes, the reason is appealing most. Reading enemies is just enables you to see it too.
Now that you put it that way, I have the answer to that question. It's projection. That's what it is. It's not a cop-out to call us utopians. They're actually projecting their own self-hatred onto us.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to bipcot.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.